Major General Mrs. Fogg, Brigadier General Hoyle and Dr. Demetrius, Brigadier General McBride, Colonel and Mrs. Helwig, Colonel Martin, Command Sergeant Major and Mrs. Burton, Command Sergeant Major D'Souza, Command Sergeant Major Scarborough, Command Sergeant Major Vidal, Gold Star families, friends of the fallen, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Before I get into my remarks, I'd like to take a moment to recognize those among us who have lost a loved one in service. We are humbled by your sacrifice, and we thank you for your acts of strength and courage during a time shown the most difficult time a family can imagine. Thank you for helping us ensure the sacrifice of your loved one is never forgotten. Sometimes life puts us right where we're supposed to be. 3 weeks ago, I participated in a service event at an elementary school in Richmond that was done in honor of Captain Andrew Ross. Captain Ross gave his life in Afghanistan in November. So his family is here with us today, and I'm very proud that we're able to honor him twice in such a short period. President Ronald Reagan once stated, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction." We did not pass it to our children in our bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to them to do the same. Or one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. We're here today to honor and remember those who gave their lives in service to our nation. They were mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters. They left behind holes in their families that can and will never be filled. And medals and accolades can't replace flesh and blood. They were mourned, and they remain missed, but they're never forgotten. We've been at war for 18 years. There are soldiers raising their right hand this very moment who have never known our nation in a time of peace. The sad reality is that some of those men and women will one day be on the posters like the ones we see here today. I recently watched the latest Avengers movie. You may wonder why I'd bring up a movie about comic books when we're here to remember real-life heroes. It's because there's a scene in the movie that drove home the power of loss in service to something greater than yourself. One character is sitting on the porch with the daughter of a fallen friend, and he asks her what she'd like for fruit. "Cheeseburgers," she says. Here's some of you saying it. He then asks her if she knows that her father also loved cheeseburgers. And then he promised to give her all the cheeseburgers she could ever want. That's part of what we gain when we raise our right hand and take an oath to serve our country. A family of brothers and sisters who will be there for those we may leave behind with no questions asked. Sometimes it's a ride, sometimes it's a walk or a run like today, sometimes it's a phone call, and yes, sometimes it's cheeseburgers. The families and friends of the fallen are members of a club that no one wants to join. While we and our families understand the risks we take when we join the service, there's no way to prepare for a knock on the door by a casualty notification team. The reality of the danger we face as members of the profession of arms was driven home for me when we lost an aircraft off the coast of Cyprus on 15 August 1995. I knew all 4 crew members. They all perished in the crash. Since then, I've lost more friends in the service of our nation than I usually care to think about. But those of you who share that burden understand that we see their faces clearly in our minds every day. One that sticks out more than most for me was my friend, Staff Sergeant Johnny Vell Mason. Johnny was an explosive ordnance disposal technician who died on 19 December 2005 in Iraq. Johnny and I spent countless flight hours together in the back of a Black Hawk helicopter, each of us with a machine gun and a responsibility to protect our crew from harm. We trusted each other implicitly to protect our 6. I was responsible to help train Johnny as he progressed as a crew chief. And no matter how hard we pushed him, that gentle Texan would flash his goofy smile, his efforts, and he never quit. His dedication and commitment needs no other explanation than the words, "He was an EOD technician." Those of you in the crowd today who know what that means knows that that is not an easy title to earn. On the day he died, Johnny's team was disarming an improvised explosive device when their scan identified a second one near their vehicle. Johnny sprung into action. He moved his team out of the danger zone and moved himself into it. As he attempted to save the device, Johnny was killed when it detonated next to him. Through his sacrifice, he was credited with saving the lives of 4 other soldiers that day. Johnny died a hero. There's no doubt about that. I chronicle Johnny today because his story is indicative of the courage, dedication, and commitment shown by all of our fallen. Their sacrifice is something we must never forget. It is something we must celebrate as they mark the best of our nation. General George Patton once said, "It's foolish to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived." For most of us here today, our remembrance is about the men and women who served alongside us. Their sacrifice allows them to live on in our hearts forever, as guardians of the ideals of our nation, as heroes. But remembrance is not about the words we say, it's about the things we do. We remember through our actions that demonstrate each day we honor their memory and vow to carry on a values-based existence that drives home the key components that are going to be familiar to all of you here today. Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. We must remember that we are here today because so many are not, having given their lives to ensure that we could live ours, to ensure our freedom, to ensure that liberty continues to ring true across this great land. But today we have an opportunity, the chance to connect with those who have come here to celebrate the lives of the fallen. There are Gold and Blue Star families in attendance. I encourage you, engage them, get to know about their loved ones. Talk about their favorite food. One of Johnny's favorite foods was pulled pork sandwiches. Talk about their hobbies. Johnny liked to work on electronics and volunteer with his local police department. Talk about how they were known. Johnny was known as a gregarious prankster, so much so that his team's call sign in Iraq was Jokers. Carry that knowledge with you over these miles today, and then daily in remembrance of their sacrifice. Help keep their memory alive. In doing so, you will ensure that they are never truly gone. And maybe this afternoon or another day soon, you can meet up again, smile, and laugh together as you remember the fallen over a cheeseburger. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak today. I'm honored and humbled to have been asked to do this. I also would like to thank all of you for coming here today just to share. It's going to be an incredibly powerful experience with all of us. Thank you.
Sorry folks, double duty as PAO, I've got to take the pictures. This time, the band will play the Armed Forces Medley. Please stand when you hear your